Here we are back again, and one of my favorite singers here, well, directors, or artistic director, Curtis Funk, and we're here. He always comes out and talks about the great music that they have, and this is such a joyous season, and we're going to be talking about Handel.
Handel, right? Handel's Messiah.
What did he do? He wrote a book? He wrote something?
He wrote a bunch of stuff. We're going to focus on his Messiah, which is probably his most famous piece. Wrote it in 24 days. And it's about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour, depending who's conducting, piece. So it was
Now,
quite
he
an
wrote the
undertaking.
music. All the verbiage, the lyrics, I guess you'd say, are from pretty much the Bible, or how
Yeah,
does...
they're from, a lot of them are from Elijah. They were compiled by a gentleman named Charles Jennens. He was a librettist at the time. And he himself was kind of a character, a real egotist and kind of a bon vivant. And we could do a whole segment on just Jennens. But he gave Handel the libretto and said, you know, these words are precious, you know, treat them as...
We need to get some music to it?
Exactly. And Handel looked at him and said, you know, I'm going to take real good care of these words. He goes, it's probably going to take me a year to put this together. And Jennens says, yeah, that makes about sense. So 24 days later...
I can't believe that you can... I mean, what kind of a mind do you have to put music like that together? I mean, because it knocks you out of the building when you hear it.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it's funny, I'm going to talk to the audience a little bit about just the mechanics of the Messiah. Somebody figured out that there's about 250,000 notes. So if you...
Oh, it's like Mozart, too many notes?
Too many notes. Yeah, which ones do you want me to leave out for? But if you divide that into the 24 days, he had to write a note every 5 seconds, so for 15 hours a day. So if you do that math, like there wasn't a whole lot of time to think. I mean, so a lot of this just had to be like already in his head and in his heart, and it was just the mechanics of you know, putting the notes to paper.
Did he write the orchestration? I mean, he wrote every note that...
He wrote it all. Now, quite honestly, when you do a first draft of something that big, you don't write every note. You just put sketches in there.
You kind of get the idea.
Yeah, and you put a note here and there.
Get
just
the
to
gist of it.
Exactly. So of the 250,000, who knows how many, but you know, even if he dropped 10,000 notes, that still is 10,000 notes a day that he had to actually pen, plus the words. So it was just an amazing undertaking.
Now, tell me a little bit about the lyricist. Why is he an odd guy?
Well, he was just he was known in that community as just being kind of elitist and not apologetic about it at all.
Oh, he was a snob.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll break it down.
Right.
Yeah.
But despite that, he and Handel got along pretty well. In fact, they did other collaborations down the road. Handel wrote an opera called Samson, and Jennens helped out with that. But Jennens was very, very disappointed when he learned that Handel was going to premiere this in Dublin instead of London. He thought the
Dublin. Oh, yeah, that does seem like it should be in France or somewhere that was the operatic center. Whereas Dublin, you don't think of as being an operatic center.
Yeah, to take something as big as Messiah and to premiere it in Dublin would be the equivalent of like opening a Broadway show in Baltimore. It's not bad, but it's not the heart of the cultural. Yeah. But unfortunately, Handel had this on again, off again relationship with the church officials in London, and at the time they were pretty angry at him. I'm not certain exactly what was going on, but they weren't going to let him premiere it in a church. And he wanted the first rollout of Messiah to happen in a church.
It had to be in a church.
Absolutely.
Had to be.
So he went to Dublin and did the premiere there, and it did marvelously. It was sold out. In fact, they had 700 people attend the premiere in a church that only really comfortably held 600, so it was packed. But then when he brought it to London, it didn't catch on right away. Number one, he performed it in a theater, and so it got a lot of stigma about doing all this religious work in a secular setting. Yeah. It took the better part of 10 years before the London audiences really embraced Messiah the way the Dubliners did almost immediately.
Did he concentrate mainly on religious stuff or religious stuff? That's music.
After a while he did. He initially started out really loving Italian opera and the Italian opera style, and that's what he did mostly in London. But then the Londoners stopped enjoying Italian opera for whatever reason. And actually Handel was partially responsible for that because he cranked out so many.
He did so many of them, yeah.
So then, but because he was good at combining words and song, he just took that operatic talent and like spun it and started doing oratorios, and which is what Messiah is. Oratorio is a long musical piece that tells a religious story. So he did Messiah, and he did Judas Maccabeus, and so he.
And you've done that one. I know that you've
We did
done
that one last spring.
Now,
yeah.
how long does it take you, your group, to? Now you've done it 2 years ago at St. John the Evangelist. How long does it take you to practice this or to get it fine-tuned? I mean, is that no pun intended?
That was actually very good.
He's a punster, I know.
I try to behave when I'm in your show, though.
I don't.
It takes about 5 to 7 weeks to put it
Okay,
together, because
yeah.
we have a fall concert that we do generally in like the second week in November, and then the day after that fall concert is a Monday, and we jump right in with the Messiah. Of my 123 people that I have this year, I think probably 100 have sung it at least once. So a lot of the times it's just, like you say, fine-tuning or refining, or maybe just trying something a little
Tweaking
different.
it a little
Exactly.
bit. Not twerking, but tweaking. Right?
That's right.
We're not doing any twerking on
No,
the show.
I don't look at it with a foam hand.
Neither one of us are capable
That's
of
right.
doing
No,
it.
they'll take a pass.
I have to ask you a question that I'm sure everybody wonders about. When they play the Hallelujah chorus, everybody stands up in the audience. Why is that?
No one's 100% sure. Most historians feel that King George was there, and that
He was getting itchy after 2.5 hours and had to stand up.
That is a possibility, believe it or not. They think he just reverentially stood up. He was so moved by it, and when the king stood, everybody stood. But there are two other theories. He did have gout, and they were wondering if maybe he needed to just stand
Move
up
around
and
a little
stretch
bit,
and
yeah.
circulate a little bit. The other theory is he came in late, and as he walked in, everybody stood up. So nobody.
He came in
really-
late. He came in the last
I was
10
gonna-
minutes of the show.
That's right, the last one of the second
Shame
part.
on him.
So nobody knows for sure, but everybody likes the first story the best.
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
was so moved by it that he stood up. And when I do it, I turn around to the audience and I bring them to their feet.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is a lot of them sing. I can actually hear, they drop out 2 minutes into it because they don't really know the center part.
Yeah.
But the first 16 measures, I hear a lot of audience jumping in, which is really nice.
Well, I used to. My grandkids went to Chalmont schools, and they have their Christmas concert every year. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they do their Christmas concert, which is always wonderful. Now I don't go there anymore because the kids are all grown up. But at the end, they invite anyone who has ever sung the Messiah, the Hallelujah chorus, to come on the stage.
Oh, how nice.
If you graduated from there.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole stage fills, people are coming up there that they graduated, their kids have been there, their grandkids, and the whole place, you hear the Hallelujah chorus.
Oh, isn't that
It's
nice?
just like, and everybody stands, of course. And I'm going, why do we all stand? I'm happy to stand because this is a long concert. So I'm with King George.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and it's funny too. The royalty historically did not have long attention spans.
No, I know.
For one thing, they'd had put in a full day by
Yeah.
the time they got to that
Yeah,
concert.
yeah.
So it would make sense that
They were getting antsy.
Yeah, because I know, you mentioned Mozart earlier. He and Emperor Joseph went over how long is this concert going to
Yeah.
be, and time again.
Exactly. Get you moving. All right, where is it going to be?
It's going to be at Union College in the Memorial
Wonderful.
Chapel.
Yeah, wonderful
Great
place,
acoustics, yeah.
And it's on the 15th.
On the 15th.
At
on the
3
15th,
o'clock.
At 3 o'clock, yep.
Get out there and enjoy it. You can't miss this on the holidays. Every 2 years you do it?
We do it every year.
Oh, every year.
We do it
Okay,
every
good.
year,
So there you go. You got a chance every year to see it. But go this year and see it.
Right.
Fill up that place and come early so you get a good seat.
Yeah, if you're going to come, I'd suggest getting there by at least 2:30.
Okay, good.
Because parking is a little difficult.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult there, but that's okay. That's part of the season.
There's a spot
Just
there for
enjoy.
you. That's
Just
right.
have fun. Just go with the flow. That's my motto. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank you,
Curtis.
and you
It's
have
always
wonderful
a pleasure to
holidays.
see you and have a great holiday.
Thank you, too.
And I want to say, stay with us because we are in for a big treat. White Christmas, Irving Berlin, and we may even hear some music. Stay tuned.